Theresa May requests Brexit extension to June the 30th. This is reported by Huffington Post. I will link it down below. So Theresa May has written to the European Council President Donald Tusk to request Brexit be extended to June 30th. Before I carry on, I do feel the need to point out, when Theresa May first took office, there was nothing that legally forced her hand into triggering Article 50. We were woefully unprepared then. We've done practically nothing since that time. It was an incredibly stupid mistake, first of many in her prime ministerial runs. But we are in a difficult position right now because she can ask more time, but the EU really doesn't have to give it. I'm going to compare Britain to Venezuela at the end of this, but for now, let's get into this. In the letter, the Prime Minister asks for the option to terminate the extension earlier, but accepts that if the UK is still an EU member state on the 23rd of May, it will have a legal obligation to take part in European elections. I'm all for European elections as long as we get rid of Nigel Farage, who doesn't actually do his goddamn job. She tells Tusk that the UK will make responsible preparations, first time, if her withdrawal agreement is not ratified before the trigger date. Britain is due to leave the European Union at the end of next week, but May is seeking to delay Brexit for a second time after her deal was rejected for the third time last week. She adds, the government will want to agree a timetable for ratification that allows the United Kingdom to withdraw from the European Union before the 23rd of May 2019 and therefore cancel the European Parliament elections, but will continue to make responsible preparations to hold the elections should this not prove possible. Again, living up to her nickname of Robot May, or Maybot. It comes amid reports that Tusk is preparing to put the option of a flexible extension to EU leaders of up to a year at a Crunch summit next Wednesday. May asks for the option for the June 30th extension to be flexible, adding, if the parties are able to ratify before this date, the government proposes that the period should be terminated early. I'm going to leave it there. And again, I'm going to link this down below so you can read the letter that she wrote. It's only 3 pages. The article goes on for a bit longer. But again, I'm going to leave that down below. So, again, there was nothing that forced May's hand into triggering Article 50. She got into office, boom, done. Incredibly stupid. Because I've missed a few bits, I want to add a few bits into this. Throwing Jeremy Corbyn into this. Jeremy Corbyn is a leaver. He has to take the position of Remain because he's the opposition. But it was only a few months ago when Theresa May was talking to all the other party leaders and not talking to Corbyn. Corbyn was saying at the end of that process, look, make sure that people who work in this country have protections. Make sure the citizens of this country keep their protections and we can talk. Theresa May refused to make that happen. And now she reaches out to Jeremy Corbyn. A number of Tories have stepped down. I love that the pathetic little children are walking away in a huff about this. But why has she done it? She's done it because now when something goes wrong, she can blame Corbyn. Corbyn can't really say no to sitting down with the Prime Minister and talking this through. But probably the only smart thing Theresa May has done since moving into number 10 is dragging Corbyn into this, because we've already seen it. The mainstream media in this country loves the right and it loves the Conservatives. So you'll get endless smears of Jeremy Corbyn. Corbyn said he would sit down and talk to our enemies, so he's a terrorist sympathiser and loves the NRA. Theresa May actually has a woman in her cabinet who said it's absolutely right that British soldiers are murdered by our IRA members. Yet that doesn't get touched on. But Corbyn wanting to talk peace with enemies, that makes him a terrorist sympathiser. So yeah, he's going to get slammed for this unless he plays it really smart. And I like Corbyn. I've been through his voting record. I've been through his history. I like what he's done for the most part, but I'm not sure he's that savvy. But now the fun bit, equating the UK to Venezuela. Now, there was a lot of things that went wrong for Venezuela. It wasn't because it was a socialist country. For everyone who blames socialism for the downfall of every country, I'd like to remind you, despite what Matthew Hancock says, the NHS is a socialist program set up by a socialist leaning, at least, Labour government way back when. It only started to fail when a right or a centrist government took over that had a vested interest in seeing it fail. That's why the NHS is failing. And again, tax on NHS hospitals has gone up, while private hospitals are now being given the ability to apply for charity status, meaning their taxes are now plummeting. The NHS is being forced to fail. But back to Venezuela. So one of the main reasons that Venezuela failed is because it was an economy based on oil. So that was their bread and butter. That was their main money, and they were an import country, not an export country. So when the price of oil dropped, they suffered heavily because of it. And of course, corporations moved in, they took advantage, they took all the tax deals and everything else. There were a lot of contributing factors. But it's very important to recognize early warning signs and address them. That old notion of a stitch in time saves 9 crap. Well, recognize that with political structures. Because the UK's main money, our cash cow, is the EU. 80% of this country's income is based on the EU. So we are able to be an import heavy country. We do export, of course we do, but we don't export that much. Relatively speaking, we import a lot more. And we're able to do this because our money maker is the EU. Germany sells a car to Japan, we make money. France sells a bottle of wine to Canada, to New Zealand, to anywhere, we make money. So we don't have to worry about constantly pushing that out. And rightly or wrongly, we have turned into a service-based country. So 80% of our income, when that's gone, we're going to suffer heavily. And the people who keep pushing this, who keep pushing us towards a no-deal Brexit, the Jacob Rees-Moggs, the Boris Johnsons, the Nigel Farages, they're multi-millionaires who have invested interests. Farage has an interest in seeing the pound drop. That's where his main money will come from. But Jacob Rees-Mogg is a tax dodger. He's a multi-millionaire, and the new EU tax laws will make it a lot harder for him to dodge tax, which is why he pushes for a no-deal Brexit. He doesn't give a damn that people will suffer. And everything that Ramonas like myself warned about, NHS struggling to find adequate drugs, companies leaving the UK, all these things have happened. And yet we're still being condemned as spreading Project Fear. But those early warning signs are still being ignored. They're being ignored mostly by mainstream media. Because when Jacob Rees-Mogg comes out and tells a lie, he is not shouted down immediately for lying. When the SOB comes out and says WTO is going to be great for the UK, the media should jump on him because he's lying. But they don't. Tell a lie often enough and people will start to take it as true. Most of the negative things we hear about the EU are either lies or, even worse, they are half-truths. And a half-truth is so much more damaging than a lie. No, the EU is not perfect, not at all. But it's nowhere near the boogeyman that we have been told it is. Theresa May fucked up when she first took into office because she triggered Article 50 straight away. There was no need for it. And you can argue that people who voted to leave the EU voted for a no-deal Brexit, but again, go back to what people were saying on that campaign. We'd have access to the single market. We'd have our pick of countries. They'd be lining up to do business with us. None of that has happened. Not a single damn thing. The only thing that's happened is that America is salivating because now they get to rip our country apart. Thanks to hardline Brexiteers who keep pushing us towards a no deal. Finally, I want to end on petitions. So I know this is a lengthy video. I just want to quickly wrap into this. 6 million people voted to do the online petition, took part in the online petition to stop Article 50, to revoke Article 50. Ignored. Absolutely disgusting, but it was ignored. Last time I checked, the vote to leave with a no deal was less than 200,000. It's been a couple of days, so I could be wrong. Tell me if I am. But it was less than 200,000. The people pushing for this, for a no deal Brexit, who have spread it, have paid to spread it. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that foreign money heavily financed the Vote Leave campaign. And now they are heavily financing this petition in terms of social media ads. If you are a leaver, and I know a few people are firm leavers and firmly against the EU, they want the British Empire back. Do you really think we're getting the British Empire back based on foreign money? That should make you think.